Hey guys, welcome back. Here's another build video. This one's actually for the same people that I built the Red Rock Bearded Dragon build. Probably, I think it was my second video I put out. They've brought me another one now. This one here is an 800 long, 500 high, 500 deep. And this one here, the plan is going to be to use the roof tile pointing, the sand color, and use that as my base. I won't be mixing oxides and all that sort of stuff in this one. I'm going to be trying something a little bit different. I'm actually going to be doing a removable cave that sort of slots into the background. Now, if you follow Luke from Beachy Scaly Beasts and you've seen his latest video, he did something similar with a nesting box for his spiny tail geckos. I'm going to be doing this as a cave, not so much as a nest box. Also, somebody else who has been giving me a lot of tips and pointers along the way, and that's Shane from Greeny's Reptiles and Enclosures. His stuff is awesome. If you want to check him out on Facebook, simply search for Greeny's Reptiles and Enclosures. But he's also done something similar recently with a removable ledge that sort of acted like a cave. Essentially, I'm going to be making this bit of styrofoam here, making this before I do the background. Now, I want to try and put some insulation foam panels. I've got a 50mm one, and I've got offcuts of this 30mm one. What I'm going to be doing with this is actually layering the top to create a bit of a crevice so that the animals can get down through the top and into the bottom. And then I'll do expanding foam around the sides to sort of make it look natural. And then I'll probably piece it over this side and start doing all of the scaping and stuff around that. Now, the reason I want to do it this way is so that I can flip it over and foam the inside and also coat the inside. Now, in this one is going to have pygmy bearded dragons in there first, and then following that is actually a marbled children's python. So I think doing the sand pointing as the color is going to sort of suit that, sort of aiming for that sort of dry coastal bushland sort of style. So yeah, I suppose we'll get cracking on it. Alright, here we go. Time to start placing everything in. Now, having that bit of styrofoam in the base made it really easy to get started on this cave, but cutting everything, shaping it all before you put it in, that's the best, easiest way. Using the hot wire cutter a fair bit here makes life simple, makes life cleaner. Lots of different shapes, a lot of different times putting this in and out, getting it right. This sort of stuff takes a lot of time. It's not an easy task. You just got to have a bit of imagination. Righto guys, as you can see here, everything for the cave has been carved, set into place, glued up. Now I've just got these few weights and stuff on this, just trying to keep a bit of weight on top of that. Now I have done this expanding foam into the glass. This is just so I get a flat base. It's going to be easy enough to slip a long blade knife underneath the foam itself and cut the base out and remove the foam. That way I can then have a full removable cave. And then what I'll do is I'll move the tank out of the way and I'll actually start doing a bit more foam around it, possibly. Definitely be foaming the inside of it. Once I've got it all carved out to where I want, I'll then piece it back into the tank, and I'll start foaming around it. And then the next stage after that would be, after everything's expanded, to simply run a knife. I'll go through it a bit later, but simply run a knife across the top, around all the edges that you don't want to be stuck in place, and simply cut it free. So Next stage will be working on this removable cave. Righto, now just cutting around the edges to release the foam and to actually get this cave out. Once it's out, I'll be able to flip it over and start carving it properly. I'm just going through here, filling up the inside, making it a bit nicer. Even though this is a removable cave, I still want it to look nice once it's out and still look like a natural rock. Here we are, next day. Everything's expanded. You can see there I've left some of the styrofoam on the inside. I'm not too concerned about that. As long as I get the pointing over it, then it's pretty much all I need. I've filled in the back. Again, really didn't need to fill it in because it's going to be hard against the glass, but thought may as well do it so when this is removed it looks nice and neat. So I'll set you up now and we'll start carving this out. Alright, just thought I'd show you something quickly. I decided it was going to be a bit difficult for this to be removed once the substrate and everything was in. So what I have gone and done is, this is still removable, as you can see. Alright, but I've gone and glued these to the base of the tank. Now this is going to make it look like it's sitting on another rock, and it's also going to allow for substrate and everything to go down into that hole, be nice comfy bedding for the animals, and also be able to have that sitting on top, which makes it look like it's sitting on top of another rock. So I'll show you down inside there. So now I'm going to set these up. I'm going to tape all of the black top, the little cap over here, and then I'm going to set you up and start doing all of the foam onto the back. Now I'm not going to go too crazy with it because I do have this mesh here that kind of going to be in the way and I can't remove it, so I'm just going to have to work around it. Don't go near it with the foam, otherwise you won't get it out of the little holes very easily. So yeah, we'll put you up on the ceiling on the little mount up there, and hopefully you can see the foam happening, and hopefully I don't get foam all over my phone. Alright, it's all foamed. Cut this removable cave out later once it dries, and all this excess foam and stuff along the front, we'll cut all that off later as well. But there's the general shape. I did get a little bit over onto the mesh, so I'm glad I taped it up. Hey, shush. Glad I taped that up. It'll be easier to clean later. So I'll get you back. I'll get you back when it's all expanded. Welcome back. For you, it's been probably 0.2 of a second, but for me, it's been 24 hours. So this is fully expanded, rock hard. At the moment, the cave is solid. It won't be for long. I will set you up and you can watch me carve this out And you'll also notice that when I'm doing it, I'm probably going to end up giving this about 10 mil all the way around the cave, so that when I coat the cave and coat the rocks, that little bit of a difference will be made up, which will make this a nice snug fit, and hopefully it goes straight back into where I want it to. So I don't know if you can tell, but behind me here, this looks a little bit different. And you also might be wondering, Cam, where'd the footage go? Well, me, being me and not checking my camera, set it up on my little hook up there. I have the footage of me setting it up, getting in the right spot, and then nothing. So, unfortunately guys, on this one, this time, I'm not going to show you, obviously, I haven't shown you a time lapse of me carving it out, but what I will do is run you through now what I've done. It's not a massive deal, you've seen me carving stuff before. I'm just disappointed. Like, I like showing it, I like seeing the time lapse of it, because it's really cool watching it go from being this big expanded blob that you last saw to watching it become what it is. So I'll just take you around at the moment and show you how the cave works and things like that. So here we are. Now, as you can see, I have a nice neat line the whole way around the cave. Right, that will get tighter once all of the pointing and everything goes on. You'll also notice I've got little dabs of expanding foam around everywhere. There's a bit down in the corner there. Now that's purely because as I was carving, I come across some holes, just things I didn't like, but that's going to be the overall shape there, as you can see. Gives you a bit of an idea now of what this is going to look like. So I mean, we've got a few little platforms that, you know, things can jump up and across here, and little lizards will use that. The children's python probably not so much, but then, you know, there is still floor space down here, room for a water bowl, but majority of the time this animal is probably going to be up here basking on the heat, or, you know, curled up down the bottom here, or inside their little cave. So now I'll show you what it's like when this comes out. So it comes out with no tension whatsoever, which is good, because that means that once it's all coated, it should be a nice snug fit. But that's it. That's the base underneath, which I will be coating this entire thing, and I'll probably do a I'm not sure whether I do just a waterproofing on the back in the same colour as I do the wall, so when the cave's removed it doesn't look like a big open hole. As you guys have seen previous, but from the back here there's not a lot that you can see through the cave, so realistically I don't need to coat the back, but I probably will anyway. Now down here where the mesh is, I've cut it back. That'll all get coated in. I've got a tape up around the sides here now that I've got my shape. And also, I don't think it's going to be a problem with this enclosure because of how big this here is and the fact that I've taped it all off. But that there, usually at this stage without tape in, I would go and get the hood and make sure it all clips into place before I coat it all. But considering I've already taped it all, I'll probably just do a bit of a rough fit and check all my clearances and stuff like that and make sure that it's all going to work before I do go and coat it. But that's going to be it. Tomorrow I will hopefully carve those little bits of foam off and get stuck into taping and pointing. Right, here we are. all taped up and ready for first coat. Now, I haven't gone too crazy with the tape this time. I'll try and be a bit neater, but always give yourself a fair bit of room, especially in sections where you've got to try and put your hand in. You always get stuff all over the back of your hands, and then it ends up on the glass. So let's get it done. Sand pointing here. This is directly from the tub with a fair bit of water in it. As you can see here, it sort of sticks to the brush, but it will slump off. That's sort of what you're going for with your first coat. You should be able to brush it on nicely. And yeah, that's it. Let's get going. Alright, it's time for coat number 2. Now this is going to be still adding a little bit of water to the pointing mix, but it's not as runny as your first coat. So you want to start thickening things up, like with more coats to go on. I generally only do 3, which you've probably seen in previous videos. But the more coats you put on, the stronger it's going to be. So, you know, you can put more. I don't like to put more, purely because you lose a lot of detail in the rocks with the more coats that you put on. So that sort of fine balance between things being solid and over the top is 3 coats, I find. So for anyone who's wondering, this is the tile pointing. This obviously is the Dunlop brand and the sand color. I use the sand color as my base for everything because I use oxides, which you've seen in previous videos as well, to add my different colors. This one here is just going to be the straight sand color. But yeah, without any further ado, I will start this second coat. Also, probably not a bad idea, before you do start any other coats and things like that, make sure everything is dry, especially in the corners and stuff. You shouldn't have any residue on your fingers, otherwise things don't dry properly and you end up getting wet spots and soft spots. So and also go through and just brush off. I don't know if you noticed in my time lapse, so it's probably a bit quick, but every now and again you get these little chunks of foam, which just fell down here, but little chunks of foam that just sort of break off as you're putting things on. There's another little dag just here that you just want to brush that sort of stuff off, because you don't want that in your finished product. So just go over the whole thing as you're checking your things dry. Just brush off all those big chunks and then carry on. After the second coat, you get a lot more coverage now. The back will be covered better with the last coat. The cave is sitting over here. You can still see some green poking through the top there, some of the orangey pinky sort of colour coming through them, but again, that'll all be covered up with the third coat. If you do find you're still seeing something like that coming through your final coat, just give it another one, give it another hit. But the final coat, because it is thicker, is generally going to cover a bit more. Alright guys, here we are, all dry for second coat. I'm gonna get stuck into doing a third coat now. I'm not gonna film the third coat, purely because it's just the same as normal. It really doesn't change too much from second to third. I will do a little bit of a video of just going over it with the brush, which I think when I did the second coat it didn't really come out too well that you could see what I was doing. So I will be showing you what I do with the brush after I apply it all. Third coat is straight from the tub, give the tub a good stir up and start laying it on. So let's get stuck into it. Alright, using a clean brush. This is just one of my old ones. The bristles are still soft. This is slightly wet, like just damp, but as you can see here, I'm just going through, I'm splotching and wiping and smoothing out the entire surface. Now this is the time, if you've got enough on there, make sure, or if you want to, you can dig out any of your crevices, making sure that they're nice and neat. You don't want to leave dags around because the dags don't look natural. You know, have a play with it, use your imagination. Some rocks have brush strokes in them for sandstone, you know, like some rocks are dead smooth, all that sort of thing. Just use your imagination. I don't use any inspiration sort of pictures as I'm going. I do look at photos quite a fair bit of different environments, but I'm not very good at replicating something that's in front of me, trying to copy something. I just can't envision it properly. So that's pretty much it, guys. So I have done the cave. The cave is over the other side. As you can see, there's not a lot of room up on my bench, but this is how I finish everything. I go over this plenty of times, not just once. You know, as it's drying, you know, you want to do this. I already smoothed this out once, so as I first got it on my hand, I went over with a brush and just brushed everything smooth. But now, as it's drying, it's not going to drag. You'll find when it's still wet, you tend to drag everything out. But it's been maybe 10-15 minutes since I actually did it, and as you can see, it's not building up on the brush. You're getting slight amounts, but it's not a lot. So that's, if you find that you're getting a lot of dags built up on your brush and things like that, just give it 5-10 minutes and just let it go off a bit more, and then you won't have that drama anymore. You probably can't see what I'm doing down here, but it's the exact same thing as I did everywhere else, and I will do the same thing to the cave. Now, at this point, now that you've got everything all smoothed out, it's all looking pretty good, this is at the stage where, if you choose to, you can get a bit of oxide, whether you use black or a different color, and actually mix the oxide with the wet pointing. And that's simply getting it on a brush, small brush, dabbing it into the dry oxide, or even adding a little bit of water, tiny little bit of water, and just dabbing it to certain areas. Now, I'm not sure. So if I show you here with the back of the brush here, this is still wet. All right, you can see with my hand, it's still coming off on my fingers. This is not dry. And I'll go over, like I said, I'll go over this a few times as it's drying, just because I'm a bit pedantic. But, you know, nature's not perfect. So give it a crack, and I'll see you when it's ready for painting. Alright guys, you're going to have to excuse the rain if you can hear it. But just thought I'd show you quickly. This is my setup. That's my airbrush. We've got some bright orange paint here, which is this one just here. All of these little jars here, these are just my premix ones that I do for everything else. It's simply just watered down acrylic paints. I've got the pressure on the air gun at almost 50 psi. I'm not a professional airbrusher by any means, so don't, you know, I can't really give the details on what I do, unfortunately. I just mix things up until it's flowing properly and I'm getting good coverage. I'm just playing with it still. So these are the paints I use. These ones are from Bunnings, this brand here. The other ones here just from cheap shops, things like that. So I'll just give you a quick look. This is it. All the tape's off. The paint comes off the glass really easily. And I find that if you paint it after, if you paint it before you take the tape off, you end up having a line all the way down the side here where the tape's torn off the glass and taken some of the pointing with you. So what I like to do is tear the tape off and actually shape the edge of the pointing and carve it back and stuff so that it flows nicely. If you do end up getting down to foam because you've taken too much off or the tape was across the foam in the first place, then simply touch it up. This one here is easy to touch up because it's straight from the tin or straight from the tub. So I'll put you down here and get painting. Righto. In the airbrush first, I have the bright orange. Now, I just play with colours, whether it works, whether it doesn't work, just play with it. You can always recoat it later, it doesn't really matter. But all we're going to be doing is simply layering on in the sections that you think the yellow and oranges might be. Give some highlights, give some edges. Until you start doing the blacks and the browns, these will look very bright and in your face. So just bear with it and just blend it as you go, and it should come up pretty good. Now I'm leaving the cave in this one so that I can blend all the paints together. anyway guys, here we are. She's all done. Very impressed with the way this one came out. These are just some really dry bits of bark and stuff that I had laying around. Old dry branches. These plants are just fake plants from one of the cheap shops, and I've just simply poked them into the bottom of the foam right down at the base. Now if they ever get grubby or anything like that, they're just a simple pull them out, give them a clean, push them back into their holes, so that's all sweet. Now to get this out of here, the way that I've set this log up is very simple. It's just going to be pull this up, get it out like that, out the front, and then the cave will come free. And there you have it underneath. Nice little bedding area for them to sort of burrow into and get nice and cozy and out of the way. And I do have to, I don't know if you can see that, but I've got to tidy up the black paint on the outside there. Usually on the externals and stuff of where you see the foam, I'll take you around and show you that in a minute. I do that with the pond sealer, and then I just put the oxide in that I used for the backgrounds. Now because this one I've used it straight from the tub, I haven't used an oxide. I thought it might be a bit hard to try and blend the colour, and you only see very, very minimal on this enclosure. So I've just gone ahead and painted the edge black, and then with a razor blade I'll trim up around the edges and make it all nice and neat, nice and finished. Thanks for sticking around, following this build. It's been quite enjoyable doing this removable cave and learning stuff and all that sort of thing. So if you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe, hit that like button, and follow me on Facebook at Cam's Custom Backgrounds. I post regularly on Facebook about progress shots and all that sort of thing, and then at the end of each build I put up the entire build video. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll end this video with a nice pan around of this, and we'll see you on the next one.